Hey, it's me, MLB. Here is Pool Chapter 68, and this one is titled Patrol Day Part 2. As Aizawa and his team turned off down their designated street, he threw you a glance, and you smiled reassuringly at him as you headed off into the next street with your group. The patrol began, and Yaoyorozu stopped to help a frail, older woman cross the road, creating a stop sign with her quirk to hold the traffic back a little so that the lady could get to the other side of the street safely. "Oh, thank you, dear," the elderly lady said to Yaoyorozu with a pat to the young hero's arm. "You're most welcome," Yaoyorozu replied with a bright smile. "Have a wonderful rest of your day," she bowed to the woman. "Oh my, the next generation of heroes is so very polite," the lady said with a grin. "It's been a pleasure to meet you, Miss..." "Creati, my hero name is Creati," Yaoyorozu said with another smile and bow. "I will be looking forward to when you are a graduated hero," the lady said with a smile. "Consider me a fan of yours already." "Oh, why thank you, ma'am," Yaoyorozu said again with a big smile. "I'll be going now." She bowed once more and then ran back to you and the group, and you smiled. "Well done, Yaoyorozu. You've made her day and you've made a wonderful first impression." Yaoyorozu was on cloud 9. You led the group on, letting your students help people where they could and answering questions from small children. In the next street over, everyone was relaxed, except for Aizawa, who was still very highly strung and anxious, although he wasn't showing it outwardly. "Aizawa-sensei?" Suddenly the Class 1A teacher became aware of Midoriya waving his hand in front of his face, and he blinked and looked down at the greenette. "Yes, Midoriya," he said gruffly. "Sir, are we supposed to be doing something today, or are we just patrolling? Because I was thinking we could maybe..." His voice continued on as Aizawa zoned out, keeping an eye on his surroundings and trying to listen to any further away noises that might indicate that you could be in trouble. "Do you think we could do that?" Midoriya's voice finally cut back into Aizawa's thoughts. "Not now," Aizawa replied without even thinking. "Oh," Midoriya said, shrinking back a little. "Okay, we'll just patrol then." As the small group continued on down the street, two figures watched from a shop nearby. "Now would be the perfect time," the female of the two said. "That is the teacher of the class." She nodded outside the window towards Aizawa. "If we mess him up, then we could cause a disruption from inside." The male of the two grinned, swinging his hammer-shaped head a little with anticipation. "I can't wait to screw everything up," he said with a sneer. "Then go out there and do your thing, and once you've been caught, I'll go and shake Aizawa's hand," the female said with a smirk. "Will you come bail me out?" the male asked, a sad look overcoming his face. "Oh, of course, baby. I always come to your rescue, don't I? Now go and play, and Mummy will be out in a second." The male grinned happily and walked around his female partner, then out of the shop while she watched inside from in the window. Aizawa looked up as he saw a hammer-headed male walk out onto the street and slam his head into a parked car, the alarm going off immediately. "Let's make some noise!" the hammer-headed male called loudly, swinging his head from side to side, smashing into yet another parked car on the street. "Midoriya," Aizawa called to the greenette. "Keep the group back." "Yes, sir," Midoriya called, looking around to make sure all the students were still around him, as Aizawa ran forward to take on the villain, who was now destroying as many things as he could find. Quickly sizing up the mutant-type male, Aizawa knew his quirk wouldn't work, so he readied his scarf to capture the wayward citizen instead. As he jumped and threw his scarf out, the male swung around and then used his head to swipe at Aizawa, barely missing the teacher. "Sir, look out!" Midoriya called, jumping in and slamming his feet into the side of the male. Mineta quickly threw some of his sticky balls, and the hammer-headed male stepped back, his foot getting stuck on them as he fell over, giving Aizawa the perfect opportunity to catch him. It was all over fairly quickly, and the group of onlookers who had stopped to see what was going on chatted amongst themselves and clapped when Aizawa got the guy up on his feet, and the students got around him to properly detain him until the police had arrived. "Thank you so much," a young lady said in an overly grateful voice as she pushed through the crowd, approaching Aizawa. "I was so worried he was going to destroy the whole town." Aizawa hummed, glancing at her. "In any case, I'm glad he is detained," she said, extending her hand to him. He looked at it, then her, then slowly reached out and shook her hand. At that point, Midoriya looked over, and from the angle he was on he saw her hair grow. "Anyway, thank you, Hiro," she said again to Aizawa before turning and walking away. Aizawa went back to keeping an eye on the detained male, and Midoriya stood there looking at him, then back to the lady as she pushed her way through the crowd and disappeared. Her hair definitely grew, he thought. Did she use her quirk on Aizawa? What is her quirk? Does her hair just naturally grow when she shakes hands with people? He pondered things quietly while the police arrived and took the man away. Then he approached Aizawa. "Sir?" he asked. "Yes, Midoriya," Aizawa replied in his usual apathetic tone. "Are you okay?" "Yes, fine," Aizawa replied. And it was true, he did feel fine. He felt like all the anxiety from before had lifted. He couldn't even remember who it was he'd been feeling anxious about. The rest of the patrol went well, and that afternoon everyone assembled back at the school grounds. You smiled when you saw Aizawa, and he looked at you with his usual deadpan expression, then looked away. A little twinge of hurt shot through you. That wasn't the usual look that he gives me, you thought, watching as he debriefed the students and then told them to get changed and head back to the classroom. Oh no. Well, I did warn you that something could possibly happen. There ends chapter 68. Stay tuned for chapter 69 tomorrow.